Hello and welcome to CadoinkStudios. I have for you today a replay between two NerVe clan members. This is another little NerVe show match, best of 3, and it is between myself, Cadoink, and LoN. NerVe LoN. We are both in NerVe clan. Shout out to the NerVe guys, very cool guys. We just decided to do a little best of 3, and so this is our first game. So I am spawning as the blue Terran in the bottom left-hand corner of GSL Daybreak, while my opponent LoN is spawning in the top right of Daybreak as the yellow Zerg. Daybreak is a 2-player map. It is a jail. I don't know why I said jail. I think I was thinking jailbreak. Don't know why I'd be thinking that. But this is a GSL map, as I was trying to say. Very cool map. I saw a very good TVZ on this map. Well, I've seen plenty of good games on this map, but one in particular I was very impressed with just recently. So anyway, we see pretty usual stuff coming out of either player. I am getting my supply depot up, and LoN seems to be going for an early expansion, not getting a spawning pool, not getting gas. I mean, I'm sure he could get a 15 pool, but I suppose he's going to go for that fast expansion. I know he likes that sort of play. And each of the players are scouting. It's a very interesting point. When I cast my own games in these little show matches, I don't know whether I should do it in third person or first person, so I tend to do both. And if you guys have a preference, let me know and I'll just stick to one. But I guess I'll refer to myself as Cadoink. So anyway, Cadoink is getting his gas up at this time, pretty late gas here at around 15, while his barracks is being placed. In the meantime, LoN did get his expansion up pretty early, and now he'll be thinking about getting a spawning pool. Yeah, we do see the spawning pool going down at this time. Cadoink's still scouting around the map with his SCV, and LoN opting to get a gas at around 7:16 food. Cadoink SCV getting a little bit out of position, and LoN is attacking his supply depot. He has pumped out a Marine at this time, and he will be able to take care of this drone. Cadoink going for a fast expand of his own, I believe, at around the 4-minute mark, while LoN's expansion was probably around the 2 or 3 minute mark, so quite a bit earlier. But an early expand for Terran is still pretty early, and it'll leave him vulnerable to early Zergling attacks, Zergling harassments, and we do see command center does go down at this time. LoN, on the other hand, not too much going on in his base, just droning up pretty hard, popping out a few Zerglings to maybe do some scouting around the map, maybe do a little bit of defending, but only 2, as well as getting his queens up so he can make sure he gets those nice larva injects and continues to drone, even transferring some drones to his natural. Cadoink putting his Marines down on the low ground so he can defend this expansion, only having 3 at this time. Luckily for Cadoink, LoN doesn't have much in the way of an attacking army, so both players are kind of playing for a more macro-oriented game. LoN now getting his Zergling speed up here at about nearly the 5-minute mark, and Cadoink working on getting his factory, trying to get some tanks up, as well as stem or combat shield, whichever one he chooses to get first. He did put that reactor on the barracks, and he has a second barracks as well that just now finished, and will be able to put Marines out 2 at a time. And his expansion has just about finished, and he will be turning that into an orbital command, working on getting it saturated up, while LoN's is not saturated, but more saturated than Cadoink, so LoN is at a bit of an economic advantage. In fact, if we look at the income, he's about 100 minerals higher, 300 minerals higher. But he isn't harvesting any gas, kind of going a more Spanishiwa sort of style, taking guys off gas. I think that's Spanishiwa style. Don't play Zerg, like I said, or like you can tell as I am playing Terran currently. And LoN opting to get a macro hatch so he can pump out more drones rather than taking this third, which might be too hard for him to defend since he is going a very drone heavy game and he's not building a lot of defenses and a lot of units. It does have Overlord spread out across the map. I do like this. Kind of trying to watch for drops and movement by Cadoink's army. Cadoink at this time only having Marines could be vulnerable to a Roach push or a Baneling bust, this sort of thing. However, luckily for Cadoink, there is neither a Baneling nest nor a Roach warren on the way. And if we go back to the production tab, we do see that Stim has finally started and is about halfway done, as well as Cadoink's first tank, and he will be getting Siege, which he has just started. So hopefully going for that Marine tank mixture, maybe even pumping out some medevacs as well. Something I've been doing on the ladder a lot is getting medevacs up and trying to work on drops. Try to throw my opponent off. It's very useful. I recommend drops to all the races. And even if you can't really do drops, something similar to drops, Muta Harassment, Warp Prism Harassment, any of the above, very good. We do see a Spine Crawler for LoN at this time to defend his Nat. Cadoink not putting on any pressure. Oh, well, as I say that, Cadoink starts to move out his units, but he could be putting on some pressure soon, and LoN doesn't have much in the way of defenses. If we look in the unit counting station, he doesn't have any Zerglings. He simply has 42 drones and 3 queens, so he will need to build up an army if Cadoink chooses to attack. Luckily, he does have this Overlord here, and he will be able to see this force moving out, so he does know, and he will hopefully start to build some units. In fact, we do see a Baneling nest going down right now, seeing if he can get some Banelings up before Cadoink gets there and try to destroy those Marines. Currently building 4 Zerglings just in case. He probably should also move a Queen down if he sees this attack coming and if he's worried about it. It would also be nice to have a Zergling on this watchtower. Cadoink, on the other hand, has finally saturated his base, and he will be working on getting out more Marines, as he does have 4 barracks, 2 more coming up. And he's also working on that +1 upgrade, while LoN is getting +1 for both armor and defense, and he will be upgrading those Zerglings. 24 on the way at this time. Cadoink moving forward with his Marines and tanks. He's going to try to siege up on the high ground and see if he can pick off this expansion. Maybe do enough damage to win the game. Cadoink sieging his tanks, moving his Marines back to make sure they don't get hit by the Spine Crawler. Not enough Zerglings on the field for LoN. He will have to pull them back. Cadoink able to pick off the Spine Crawler as well as a few more Zerglings, and now he's up in his base. This is a lot of trouble for LoN. LoN spawning Banelings in the back of the base, but will they get done in time before this hatchery goes down? Cadoink targeting the hatchery, and the Zerglings are coming down to do damage to the tank while all the Banelings are coming down. Cadoink not seeing the stun split his Marines up in time, and all the Marines go down to Banelings as well as the tanks. And LoN was able to defend that very nicely. We do see 1 Baneling left, as well as a good handful of Zerglings. And so if we look at the units lost tab, it was kind of in LoN's favor, as Cadoink did lose 1,300 minerals to LoN's 1,100. So not enough damage was dealt there to justify that push by Cadoink. So Cadoink, maybe knowing that, maybe not knowing that, is kind of holding back. He will be sieging his tanks in his base, deciding not to push forward. I would like to see him try to do something about this Overlord, because this Overlord is really obnoxious. It gives LoN vision. In the meantime, LoN has taken his 3rd expansion. It is his 4th hatchery, so he will be able to produce a lot of units at one time, especially if he gets a Queen up, which the Queen has just now finished. Going back to the production tab, we do see Baneling speed as well as +2 upgrades for his Zergling, so he is going to be going a very Zergling heavy attack, as well as Banelings and even Mutalists. We do see a Spire on the way, and even a 3rd Evo Chamber. I don't know what his why he chose to take 3, but he did. Maybe he will be transitioning into something in the future that will need this range, and he'll want to upgrade it while he's upgrading his +2. Morphing in a few Banelings as well, making sure he's not getting attacked and has some sort of defense. Also being very active about his creep spread. It's a little late in the game, but now that he has 3-4 queens, he can afford to do it. So he is going to be spreading his creep across the map, getting that extra vision, that extra speed. Might even be good to take down these ramps, because I feel like Zerglings will get stuck and it'll do a lot of damage. We did hear a scan by Cadoink. Cadoink probably seeing, probably just scanning his natural. Doesn't know about the Spire on the way. However, he could kind of suspect around the 12-11 minute mark that Mutas can come, so he did build a turret here as well as a turret here. I'd like to see one maybe there, as well as maybe on the outskirts over here. And he's also working on getting double engineering bay as well as that armory to pump out those +2 upgrades when +1 has finished. And we do have a starport with a reactor on the way. He will be pumping out medevacs 2 at a time, as well as, look at this, 4 factories. Wow, that's a lot of factories. I don't know if he can support it. In fact, his gas is really low, only at 200. Probably went overboard on the gas. He's going to need a 3rd base to be able to support it. And we do see an orbital command had been built and it is moving to the third location, so he can begin the gas and hopefully producing out of all 4 of these. In fact, we see he's producing Hellions because he just can't afford to pump out 4 tanks at a time, as well as double medevacs, as well as upgrades for the Marines. Reactor on 1 of the barracks, so he is going to be producing Marines a lot at a time. I'm not going to try to count it. And he does have a very nice force. In fact, if we look in the unit tab, he has 8 tanks and 40 Marines to 10 Banelings and 53 Zerglings, but 20 more Banelings are on the way. And if Cadoink is in a good position, he will be able to win an engagement, but he might be caught off guard. He's moving forward, and there are a lot of Zerglings and Banelings. The Zerglings and Banelings are moving down at the same time. Cadoink's tanks not sieging up. They're far out of position, and he's getting the surround on Cadoink. The Banelings coming in and destroying all the Zerglings. Just 1 siege tank left, and it all gets picked off, and wow, LoN just demolishes Cadoink's army, absolutely crushing it into oblivion. And yeah, it's looking bad for Cadoink because he has no units except for 1 medevac, and LoN has quite a bit of Banelings. In fact, he's morphing in, just look at this, tons and tons of Banelings, as well as having a few mutas and producing 30 Zerglings. So we do see, especially if we look at the unit loss tab, Cadoink has lost 1,000 minerals more than LoN, and it's not looking good for LoN at this time. Cadoink taking a 4th base, but it's not going to be enough because the problem is production. He's pulling back as far as he can, kind of worried about this impending attack, and he knows it's going to happen. He needs to siege this tank up, and here comes the Zerglings at this time, as well as the Banelings. They're going to move up to Cadoink's 3rd, try to pick off the 3rd. Cadoink, knowing this, has to defend it, or else he's going to be just economically crushed. Actually, I think Cadoink is just going to let it die. In fact, he should cancel that and lift, which he may do. A couple Banelings coming up the ramp or guarding the ramp. Going to be trying to take out these tanks. Cadoink moving back and pushing a tank forward to try to take the Baneling damage, which he does very nicely, not losing any Marines. But here comes some Zerglings. Zerglings coming in to do the surround. A ton of Banelings as well, picking off the rest of the army, and now all that's left is a bunch of medevacs. LoN is able to run free in Cadouink's base, and there's the GG by Cadoink. Congratulations, LoN, for winning the first game in the best of 3. We'll see what happens in game number 2. That was very well played. LoN being very good about keeping his macro up and droning very hard and building units at the right time. Cadoink just was really out of position and kind of fought LoN at a bad angle. Otherwise it might have been more of an even engagement, especially if he had had those tanks sieged up. They would have been able to pick off those Banelings a little better, and it might have been a different game. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. We're both members of NerVe, and this is Cadoink at CadoinkStudios. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, comment below, like the video, and we'll see you guys later with game number 2. Bye.